Hello, this is Dr. Pike for LDR330, Personal Leadership, and we're going to be covering Chapter 9 in Effective Leadership by Ronald Humphrey, and this chapter is entitled Self-Leadership, Empowerment, Shared Distributed Leadership, and Teams. We're going to begin by talking about character. Character consists of moral discipline, moral attachment, and moral autonomy. Moral discipline is the ability to suppress individual or personal needs, and this is done for the greater good. It's putting others first. Moral attachment, in the way of commitments, is belief in something greater than oneself. Moral autonomy is the individual's responsibility, their ability to make judgment calls, and it is furthermore the capacity to make ethical decisions. Self-leadership is a self-influence process through which people achieve self-direction and self-motivation to perform. Self-direction is defined as initiative in choosing goals. It's your ability to provide undivided attention and have ultimate focus. Self-motivation is the responsibility for motivating oneself. Simple as that seems, it can be very difficult. The skill is very necessary when dealing with unpleasant tasks. The three foes to self-management, the inability to delay self-gratification, the wanton for instant rewards or instant gratification, procrastination, putting things off tomorrow what could be done today, emotional self-absorption, and this is when one's personal problems or agenda supersede the mission that must be at hand. Behavior-focused self-leadership is comprised of action-oriented strategies. One is self-observation, and this requires a high level of self-awareness. It also includes the ability to take and process criticism, especially constructive criticism that others may offer you to help you grow as a leader. Self-goal setting is important. Goal setting increases motivation. Self-rewards, they're more effective than being punitive towards a person that may not meet time deadlines. Environmental cues, these are posted someplace where you can see them, and they're either physical or electronic, and what they can be is they can be timetables, they could be a calendar with due dates, any number of things, task reminders, just to keep you on track. Natural reward strategies. You want to add pleasant activities. You put fun into unpleasant tasks. Leaders commingle social aspects with their duties. Focus on the pleasant aspects, focusing on the intrinsic rewarding aspects of the job. Change perspective by accentuating the positive and downplaying the negative. Constructive thought patterns. Identify thought patterns and beliefs through your own self-analysis. You want to replace negative self-talk with positive self-talk. And this is where it's important to talk about in higher education when you're going for your master's and you're going for your doctorate. There's what's known as the imposter syndrome. And the little person inside you, and you can name them, self-doubt if you like, will come forward and try to hold you back. So when others recognize you by your title, you may not see it yourself. You may not see yourself as worthy of doing these things. And in the doctoral program it's called the imposter syndrome. You've gone through this extensive multi-year process of constructing a dissertation and coming out and defending it where they call you a subject matter expert, and instantaneously you go from student to doctor, and it's kind of a head spinning process. On the inside, it takes a while to come to grips with that. As a new doctor myself, I can tell you, I finished my dissertation and graduated in 2017, and those little voices that would hold you back or would tell you, what business do you have doing this or that, they ring loudly in your ear, especially when you're venturing out of your comfort zone to come out and teach other people. You want to use mental imagery and rehearsal. Now, a lot of this process is, I remember when I went to apply for the doctoral program, and I had to actually go and meet with a person that was in charge of it for the campus that I was attending. And so I brought props. I had a box of props with me, and I had on my really nice clothes. But what you may not know about me is that I'm 6'5" and over 250 pounds. So when I got on the elevator and I had my box of props, a lady was holding the door open for me. I had rehearsed my presentation over and over again, and when I ran to get on the elevator, she looked at me, and she worked for the university, not CBU, but another university, and she looked at me and said, "What are you here to install?" And I could have let that taken me out of my game, but I was well rehearsed. And I said, I'm not here to install anything. I'm here to apply for the doctoral program and introduce myself. Well, I went in and was able to pass the application process and the interview. And I just remember that story when it comes to that, because I had rehearsed it so much that it became second nature. And I encourage you, as leaders or going on as scholars into graduate programs, this process is essential. You want to get rid of the negative self-talk, and you want to practice. See yourself in the position that you want to be in. Pray about it. Like Dr. Davis always says, pause, pray, and reflect. And if you do these things, it's going to happen for you. Self-leadership, self-efficacy, the belief in the ability to complete tasks, and performance, that is the stratified components of self-leadership. If you can believe it, you can achieve it. And I heard those things many times, and I said to myself, it sounds like jargon. It doesn't sound right. But actually, when it's put into practice, it really does work, and I'm living proof of it. Empowerment. Empowerment is a set of management practices that gives greater autonomy and control to workers. Self-managed work teams, one type of empowerment practice in which workers take on supervisorial duties. Psychological empowerment, choice leads to competence, which leads to impact and becomes meaningful to the worker. Now, in public service, you have to know, my experience is that you have to venture out and you have to make discretionary decisions. And these can be in grave situations, or they can be in mundane, regular, everyday situations. But your ability to make those decisions should be predicated upon your beliefs, your values, what you've experienced, what we call the System 1 and System 2 thinking, what has worked before and what in your own formulation of idea and thought could work in that situation. And you want to be in an environment to where your supervisor or the person that's in charge of you ultimately would be, you made the right decision. And let's move further and let's talk about empowerment and resistance. Functional resistance is constructive negotiation between a subordinate and a supervisor. If there is a better way to do something, then that's good. If the supervisor doesn't have time to speak to you and you press the issue, and you get shut down harshly, you may learn a lesson from that and come back at another time and be able to put that forward. If you don't take that tack and you go the other way, you're going to have a dysfunctional resistance. Either you'll defy that person by just doing whatever it was that you were going to do. You'll shut down and have non-compliance. You'll sabotage the efforts. There's backstabbing and undercutting of a person's authority and their opinion. And I think you can see by the sections that are demonstrated on this slide which would be better in that situation. Shared and distributed leadership is defined as dynamic and interactive influence process that leads one another to an objective, and this is done through peer or lateral influence. Distributed leadership, a variety of configurations which emerge from the exercise of influence, interdependent and conjoint action. Each person takes a role in distributed leadership. Now, let's go to put it into practice, and this is on pages 252 and 253. There are 13 key takeaways for Chapter 9. 1. When immediate action is called for, empower your team members to make decisions and do what they have to do. Select team members who have character. 2. Practice self-leadership to focus on your goals and stay motivated. 3. Use self-leadership tactics to overcome the inability to delay gratification, procrastination, and emotional self-absorption. 4. 3 major self-leadership tactics involve changing your behavior, using natural rewards, and developing constructive thought patterns. 5. To hit a winner, surround yourself with a supportive team and use constructive self-talk. 6. Boost your self-efficacy and performance by using mental imagery. 7. Use empowered managed teams to motivate your workforce. 8. Remember that employees feel psychological empowerment when they have choices and the power to initiate action, when they feel confident, when they perceive they have an impact, and when they feel the job is meaningful. Remember, number 9, that various studies have found that empowerment can increase performance, job satisfaction, and organizational citizenship behaviors while reducing dysfunctional resistance. Number 10, recognize that shared leadership is especially important in the knowledge economy, but that in any organizations, employees at any level may have useful knowledge and leadership skills. 11, create a high-care team atmosphere to encourage knowledge transfer and creation. 12, create a sense of collective efficacy by getting team members to believe in each other's abilities. Number 12 is really important there. You know, once you have a cohesive team, you're hard to stop. Number 13, don't get summit fever. Reevaluate your goals when you receive new information that suggests your original goals are no longer achievable. And that is our 13 key takeaways. And that is the end of Chapter 9's lecture. So on to Chapter